Good. Welcome back. I'm Jan Hichu and I am unpacking the IESve building performance tool, the series of videos that you can follow through. So up to now we've assigned the different templates to the geometry or the model itself. And there's a little tool that I think is actually quite nice to use, a way to assess it, but also I think a very nice way to also communicate the nature of the model. Now, if you're in Apache, in that tool, you'll find right there at the end, it's called Input Data Visualization. It uses the model viewer again. And you can see here you can choose different criteria and categories along which you can view it. So the general you could look at, for instance, the thermal template. And this is quite, this is rudimentary. It will say there's called a room and an office. And clearly what we're seeing here is I've made a mistake. I've got an office template below, which we've developed, and then there's a room template, which we haven't developed. And that might be problematic in the model. Again, if we go to something like internal gains, for instance. So, I mean, you can look at many. So internal gains, for instance, again, looking at light sensible gain. So I could just check, I mean, what's happening to the lighting. And again, I'm picking up something strange. I can see that the sensible gain is 12 watts per square meter at the bottom, which is correct. We've done that. And at the top, it's not, which is problematic. I don't know what that means. Similarly, you can use the construction and you can say, let's look at the basic construction materials. And I've got my definitions there and I can see, okay, wait a minute. There seems to be the correct roof, the walls are correct, the construction seems to be correct throughout. So something isn't right. It could be the thermal template that I've used incorrectly. So that's why this visual data input visualization tool is quite effective. And then obviously you can use it in other ways as well. You can look at the total R value, for instance, and say, well, if you've defined the model and maybe you want to communicate that in the end, you can say, okay, let's look at the R values and we can see, okay, where the weak points are. Clearly, the roof has a very high R value at the moment. And the rest is much lower. So again, it's a way of visualizing the model. We've now picked up that there's an error, which means you would want to fix it. And you go back to template that we can define, and we say, well, that's wrong. It should be Office 1, and the construction should be the Office template. Which means if I now choose all of that, and I define it, and we say, okay, let's simply look at the thermal template, then it's correct. Now remember, you might have a building with multiple thermal templates, and then you want to see that differences are there. And then in terms of construction, let's make sure that the constructions are correctly assigned. And again, we will have a look, and it seems like they're all the same. And yeah, that means we are good to go. The model has been assigned correctly. Okay, so a quick way to check your design, or if there's something strange that happens, a nice way to go and check and say, okay, wait a minute, what's happening there? Good. Next, we will be undertaking our actual simulations.